We're joining tonight to be able to kind of dissect, I guess, what manipulative grooming looks like. And I had someone say not long ago, when you go over a subject like manipulative grooming, first of all, it's like, what in the world is that? And secondly, if you know what it is, it's like, why would you ever deal with that in church? Well, I counsel. I'm a drug rehab specialist. I have all kinds of other things I'm into. And I believe that these are subjects that should be taught, and they should be made available to the church so that we can walk out of some of the things and that we can discern some of the things that we need to. Because sometimes it might not look the way I'll be describing. Maybe it's not that intense. Maybe we've never gone through anything that intense. But part of discernment is just knowing. It's having understanding, where you can look into a situation and you're not being paranoid. You're not, holding someone suspect. It's not projecting into their life. You're actually looking and going, I'm seeing into something. What is that? Something ain't right here. And many times we'll get a little bit of a read, but we don't know where to go with it. And getting the base or getting knowledge regarding this subject is huge. So as far as statistics, a lot of times you'll go through different statistics. One of them says that I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, sexually abused. 1, 2, 3, 4. This was actually a statistic from 10 years ago already, at least. So we know that statistics now are at a higher rate, that something's going on in the home where there's sexual abuse going on. So you might have come tonight going, well, I didn't know the class was about that. It's not necessarily about that. But that is in the makeup of grooming. And so if it's been in your family at all, if you've participated in it all, it's happened to you, or you've participated in it not knowingly or whatever, and now you know better, there's something about the training that you can walk away from the abuse, but the training remains. So let's say that you had a parent that was sexually groomed and trained, this is how you submit to it, and then I'll get into all that, how I described that. And now nobody abused you, none of that was going on in the home, but the way they think now has transferred to you. Now suddenly you're being groomed in different ways of manipulation, and you're like, don't even know it. Because there is an abuse going on that you would say, here's the marker that says this behavior is wrong, because you're not being sexually abused or beaten or something like that. You've got a nice home going on. But the thinking can actually transfer down. And so we're going to take a look at grooming first, just the meaning of the word grooming. And so when we look at manipulation, manipulation is a way that somebody convinces you, right? It actually falls in the category of witchcraft. Because the word witchcraft means manipulation, domination, and control. So domination is the word picture of a big dog standing over a little dog who's on its back going, ah. So that big dog's dominating. We have 2 boxers, and they're both males, and one's older than the other, but somehow now that the young one has gotten old enough to think he's hot stuff, sometimes we'll just be sitting on the porch or whatever, and the old dog will be laying there. He'll just stand over top of him like this. And then it's not like he's standing over top like, oh, I didn't know you were there. He'll go into this weird stare. Kind of like, I want you to know I'm standing over top of you, and I want everyone to see this. And so he'll just stare. And you're like, you got to be kidding me. And then you go, sit, and you try to move the old dog, and he'll growl like that. Because he knows he's dominating Sid. Although he's an old enough dog, he doesn't seem to care. He doesn't respond. But the young one is like, there, I really dominate. So the word dominate literally means big dog, that's the word picture, over top, this little dog dominating. Control, we know, is when I'm in charge. I'm the one deciding. You don't get any choices. The less choices you have, the more I'm in control. And so that's a part of witchcraft. Manipulation is part of the crafting. So you hear the word witchery or the word witchcraft. Literally means, the word witch can derive into like the thought of a spell. So we picture that, someone with a big pointy hat, and I'm conjuring up, Eye of Newt, and we're over this cauldron, and we're, conjuring this up. No, it's how can I captivate you under my spell? By words that I say. And once I got your attention, now see, I'm going to craft you through manipulation. Not just suddenly, because then you'd notice it's a slow movement. And manipulation is very much like that. So when you look at, grooming, that can fit categories of, I could groom you a certain way for money, or I could groom you a certain way so I can take control or whatever. Most of the time, they use it when it comes to sexual abuse, that term. You don't usually hear somebody say, wow, they groomed me and took my money. We usually don't use that. But if you know anything psychological, they'll use that term for somebody dominating. And usually a weaker person, a person who's not emotionally stable, or a person who's in question of themselves, or a person that's a child and it's an adult, they will look for a person that would make an easy target, right? And then the grooming process begins. So I believe we have the different steps of grooming, if you want to pull up the first step. Now, this is how they lay it out for sexual abuse. But you can take these same things very similar ways, and if you take the sexual abuse out of it, it happens if I'm trying to manipulate you to do something else, right? So the first thing that happens is targeting the victim. The offender targets a victim. They'll size up that person. They're looking for vulnerability. Now, this is a person who knows they're about to groom you. There are people who know, they're like, I am heat-seeking that person. Aha. There's the child who always stays alone. There's the child who's on the playground by themselves and mom's nowhere to be found. There's that person, maybe dad just left, that little person, and now they don't have a protector in the home, and we they'll target out of the vulnerability of that. If it's not sexual abuse and it's not a child, it can be in relationship. We always picture a man to a woman looking for the vulnerability. The Bible describes that, talks about weak-willed women just letting anybody come into their home. Their will to say no or to say yes to something is weak, and they're just open to anybody, and they get run over. So it uses that term when it talks about that, because more so women are adapters to men. So we're looking for the cues of what is it he wants, or, whatever, and so we'll adapt. And so we're a little bit more easily manipulated, I should say, statistically. But there are women who target vulnerable men. It's not a picture of the man not being manly. He just might not know. He might just have a poor image of who a woman is, or what he should really be looking for. And you have that woman that will then slowly, whether she uses her body, her talk, her finances, whatever it is, the caretaking that she might do to kind of slowly move that person toward what she wants. See, that's when the control kicks in. So we target, this is how, if we're going to groom, which we're not teaching you how to do that, if we were a groomer though, you would be targeting the victim. And you can do that consciously if you are in that state where you're making a choice to do this. But what if you were trained by someone else who groomed you? You wouldn't even know you were doing it. You wouldn't know that, wanted somebody to be on your basketball team, and suddenly you find yourself using bargaining and all these different things, whatever way we can get, I can't get this person to listen, but I'll go over here, this person will listen. And we're just going beyond, we're using a craft almost to get them to turn, because we really want this to happen for ourselves. And we might have seen our parents do that very same thing. They might have done that in child discipline. That might be how they instructed us, and we just thought, well, that's how you do it. So it's important that we just kind of get an awakening that anytime we look, and we're looking even to a person where we're like, oh, I could never go ask that person, they seem too powerful, and we find ourselves trying to find somebody who we consider weak, stop right there. Stop. If you're trying to build a team for something, if you're trying to communicate to, to the city council or to anybody, and you find yourself looking for, well, I'm not going to be heard by any of these people, but that person seems really quiet and insecure. That's the person I'm going to go talk to. Stop right there. That shows we need to grow in a certain area, because we should be able to address anyone who's in the room and not be looking for that person. Because it can come out as something as simple as, I was never heard as a child, right? And so if I see somebody who I consider powerful, I already assume they're not going to listen to me. So I have to find somebody who seems insecure and vulnerable, and then I can talk to them. Whether they talk back, I don't know, but if they do, then I'll really feel special. See, it's an insecurity within ourselves, where sometimes we'll picture maybe a person who has tendencies towards groomers is like this really mean, evil person. No, it can just be as simple as, I feel insecure. And they've asked me to be in charge of such and such, and now I've got to build a team to do this, and I don't necessarily feel secure, but I got to put on the face like I am secure. But I'm not going to gravitate toward people who would seem like maybe they know more, or I just feel intimidated toward them or something. Maybe they're really good looking and that intimidates me or something like that. I'm going to go, I'm out. Who is that person? And I'll gravitate toward maybe somebody who is very quiet, insecure, and they don't know how to say no. So targeting the victim is the first one. Gaining the victim's trust. Now, when this is sexual abuse, the sex offender gains trust by watching and gathering information about the child. They're just checking out what's going on. Sometimes singles, dating groups, I don't care if they're in the Christian realm or not, I don't care if it's online or not, people are watching, and if they're not just looking for, hey, I want to know information about this person, see if I can get to know them. It ends up crossing into like, ooh, I don't know if I could talk to that person. Let me find the person who's vulnerable. Let me find the person who I could ask to do a certain thing, and they wouldn't know how to say no. See, there's a bend then toward that grooming. So in sexual abuse, the sex offender gains trust by watching and gathering information about the child, getting to know his needs and how to fill them. In this regard, sex offenders mix effortlessly with responsible caretakers. They might just be part of the group and you would never know. And that's with sexual abuse. But let's say they're not doing that. They're just trying to be a part of maybe the church, where it's a person who, just is trying to feel like, well, I'm going to be, I want to lead this, or I want to be a part of this, or whatever. And when they go to act that out, when they go to do what it takes to be that leader, to be that teacher, to be that whatever, it's always a gravitation toward somebody who's more vulnerable. Maybe not somebody who feels secure about themselves. And they have to study it out. They have to look for that. So if you find yourself doing that, that's an insecurity within you. And I want you to hear that, and I want the people online to hear that. Because sometimes we have a confused view of maybe what a groomer would look like. We're like, well, they're just evil people who are just so blah, blah, blah. No, it's usually a very wounded person who feels powerless, and to the level of our insecurity is the level we'll rise up and try to take control. More insecure we are, the more we'll rise up. And in marriages, it can be not overall. It can just be on certain subjects. That maybe I'm insecure in an area that Vern's not. Right? So there could be, if he had a tendency toward grooming me in that area or whatever, or trying to get his way, he would know, ooh, she's weak in that area. I got her now, right? All I have to say is this. All I have to do is touch that button, and she's going to fly off the handle. She's going to fall apart or whatever. I got her right. So I can use this to get where I need to go. See, so it might not be grooming somebody sexually. It can be subject grooming people. I've watched it in marriages where the man wants to buy a boat or a new gun or something like that, and it's just not in the budget, and it's a wearing down of that other person. I can't, if I ask you and you say, no, honey, we've got to have groceries for the kids. I mean, this is not going to work out. I don't see where the payments, it's not making sense on paper. And there's no plan around that. That's okay, that's fine. And if you find yourself manipulating, you'll quit arguing about the thing and come at it from a different direction. Start to wear that person down in a different area until you watch to see their breaking point. Now, here's another thing that you might not consciously say, well, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to wear this person down and I'm going to do this. No, you just saw your parents do that, and it just comes natural to you. You're not even thinking about it. It just comes out your mouth that way. Your actions come that way. And the next thing you know, you're in that spot where you're manipulating them by wearing them down. And right at their breaking point, then you throw that in there. Well, you know, I get where you're coming from. I mean, you're falling apart. I can see why I can't buy a boat. I mean, you don't even contribute in this family. I mean, look at you. You're a wreck. Probably should spend the money on counseling. See, you can turn it just that fast on that person once you find what their weakness is, until finally it's like they're shaking in their boots, and then they turn and they go, okay, fine. Just, you know, you are the strong one. Go ahead and get whatever you need. I just don't want you to leave. So we find that weak point, and then you rise up and control that and craft that. So these are all things, by the way, we're not supposed to be doing and that we're learning about, so we can go, oh, if I'm doing that, it needs to stop. And or if someone's doing that to you, you can have a boundary regarding that by the time we're done here in the evening. I just want to go through these steps, though. So you target the victim, you look for their vulnerability, then you gain the victim's trust. You gather information about them. You know, maybe somebody's picking on them. You come in that spot and be the hero, and I understand you, and whatever. You're setting it up. You're gaining the victim's trust. And then stage 3 is you figure out what their need is, because you can see the weakness. You can see everybody's vulnerable in some area. There ain't no superheroes. So if you hang with people long enough, it's like you'll see that vulnerable area, and it'll hang out eventually. And if you have manipulation problems, you'll be looking for that, because part of the training is not to deal with something or someone that's equal and maybe above maturity where you're at in that area. Part of the training is, I can't deal with this, so I have to look for the weak spot. So then I will feel more powerful when I'm dominating their immaturity. So if I can find where you're immature, I can dominate that. And once I stand over top of you, right, manipulation, domination, control, and I stare at you and you're shaking long enough, I decide when I'm going to let you up. That's that little dog. I'll decide when I'm going to back off, right? And like I said, I mean, when Jax does it to Sid, it's funny, but, you know, because it's 2 dogs. It wouldn't be funny if it was humans. I mean, just the way he'll, and I don't know what that's all about. Like, I'm not even going to move. You know, just the head and it's hilarious when you see him doing it. And Sid will be just like, what? You know, but he's standing over top of him. It's hilarious. But anyways, so we gain the victim's trust, and then we fill a need. And so that's that part. Sometimes people feel like they're falling in love with a person because they're going through these steps and they don't even know they're doing it. They targeted somebody that's like, well, that's the person that would have to love me. I mean, nobody else loves them. That's kind of how they feel about it. They feel weak. I feel insecure, so I have to find somebody who would listen to me, who I would know who couldn't dominate me. So you're already going, there's something wrong with that. Right? There's something wrong with that. Because we do date to the level of our maturity. We married to the level of our maturity. So a lot of times we'll get married and we'll blame everything on that other person. Well, you married him. Something about that mixed. Something about that came together on the same level. Now, sometimes after you're married, one person will grow ahead of the other, and then that causes conflict in another way. But when you're married, there was some kind of attraction that said, we get each other. So we fill the need. Then when it comes to sexual abuse, there is an isolating of the child. The grooming sex offender uses developing special relationships with a child to create situations in which they are alone together. Now, when he feels the need or she feels the need, it's that thing of, you found the person who's vulnerable, and I have to have certain things in my life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what you need, and I'm going to give that to you. I'm going to give you praise because you didn't have any praise. I'm going to give you affection because you didn't have any affection. Especially to a child, it's like, you're my best friend. you're just different than all the other kids. If it's in a relationship as adults, we're like, you're the most beautiful woman ever. Really? I've seen myself in the morning. I don't know. But, there's something about that. It's like, oh, you just met a need in that person. And they go, really? Nobody's ever talked to me like that. Nobody's ever gave me these certain things. And especially if they target a person, target a child especially, who's had losses in their life, they're an easy target. Because that's that kid that is so hungry for affection, hungry to be noticed, hungry to even just have an attaboy every once in a while, And so the offender will create that. The groomer will create that by getting in that person's space. And the need is so great, they'll let their boundaries down, of any boundaries that they have, because they're so hungry that, oh, I don't care about my boundaries. I need this affection. So it's a bad setup right out of the gates. And it's an insecurity in both sides. It's an insecurity on the person who's grooming, and it's an insecurity in the person who's that hungry. So now we have this coming together. And sometimes that ends up being, in adult relationships, an extremely codependent situation. Can't live with you, but by golly, I can't live without you. It ends up being that. Then isolating the child, is, I need to get you away from the other kids. I need you to get away from, and just be with me, because you're different. And they already feel different. If they already feel different within themselves because maybe other kids aren't playing with them, maybe their dad left them or their mom or something, so they already feel innately different. And so when that person says, no, you're different, but you're special to me. See, I'm going to meet that need, and I'm going to get you away from other people. Then it goes into stage 5 of sexualizing the relationship. Now, if this is happening with adults, it could be that we think we're falling in love. You could be in that spot where one person is literally just really wanting to use that other person for what they want. And then we call that love, because somehow it'll feel right. You'll feel taken care of because the person dominating is somehow taking care of you, and this person will feel good because you're so vulnerable and they don't feel threatened at all. But you'll only be together so long like that, and then it'll implode on itself. So these are just different characteristics I'm going to go through up front here. They sexualize the relationship, and that's a marking. So let's say it's not sexual. Let's say that it's a relationship and maybe somebody grooming you to get your finances or whatever it is, and it's not sexual. It's still a marking of you that I've brought you this far. Now you're going to feel guilty to say no to me. I've worked on this project long enough. There's no way you're going to say no to me. All I have to do is look at you and go, really, Lynn? And you're going to feel like, well, I don't know. You have been really kind to me, and you did look out for me, and you did give me that money, and you did, and you did, and you did it. And then it makes it really difficult to say no. Well, because if you were a vulnerable person, you couldn't say no to begin with. Without any of that. Now that I've heaped all this on and I've worked this out to get you to do what I want, now it's going to be really hard to say no. And so when somebody is groomed into, especially a child, into a sexual relationship, they hate it, but they don't want to do without it because that's that one person who gave them attention. And if you remove that person, they have nobody. That's different than a rape. A rape, the word rape means an unwanted touch. So technically, somebody, grabs your butt cheek when you're walking by. Yes, I said that in church. And you could charge them for rape because that's unwanted. You didn't ask them to touch you like that, right? So that's different, and it's suddenly, and it happens, and it's over. But grooming takes some time. When someone is going to manipulate you, it's going to take some time. I'm just going through these stages of how many times a person grooms a child into a sexual relationship or sexual abuse, because so many of the characteristics fit other things. So we'll go on the last one here. When they sexualize the relationship, that's the part where the adult has now taken full control. I got you to yield. I got you to keep things in secret. I've isolated you away, and you're not going to say, no, you make me a promise. You don't tell anybody. You're my buddy. You're my friend. You're my whatever it is that that child had wanted to hear. And it causes a twisted thinking in the child where they're like, I need to please, but I hate this. I hate this. I feel dirty, but I need this because somehow it feels like affection, but it feels so wrong. So then the next step would be to maintain control. So first, a groomer gives you something, creates that atmosphere, and then right when you feel secure, or like you might feel like I got to pull away from this because maybe something's supposed to be kept in secret or whatever, they will take something away from you. I will tell, and I'll tell people that you did this. I'll make sure that the police know that you were the kid who blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell your uncle. I'm going to tell, whatever it is. And so there's like, no, please don't. I gave you something and it valued, and now I'm going to take it away. Can you see how that's witchcraft? Witchcraft can be somebody casting a spell on you. You know, there is things where, I mean, you can go to the bookstore, you can go to Walmart and buy a book of spells that kids are going around casting spells on each other. There's a spiritual base to that. But there's something about, more so than a spell that you speak, of really crafting that person with hugs and just getting in their space and buying them what they need and just being there slowly moving in. And when they feel like you don't have enough control, or they feel like they might start to develop a boundary, you take something away from them. And then they're crying or they don't know what to do with themselves, then you give them something back. See, that's part of grooming. I'll hurt you, and then I'll come and rescue you because I hurt you. And it starts the thing inside of us where we're like, that's wrong, isn't that? But somehow they came back and healed that, but yet, why is this happening? And then they'll keep it up, keep it up. They call that the honeymoon period, where it is, you know, good behaviors, good things, you know, I'm so proud of you, whatever it is. And then when they want something, or they don't feel like they have enough control, I'll take something away from you. And that leaves you just, because it's so codependent, you're just like, oh, I'm going to die without this. I'm going to die without their affection, their compliments. I can't do this. I don't know where to go. I don't know. Oh, here. You know I've always cared about you. I took something from you, but then I'll heal you. You see it? That's how sexual abuse and most what they would call a predator, when they make up their mind to do this, they know exactly what they're doing. A lot of times people don't know, they don't have a mind made up. They're just following something they were trained in. And it might not be towards sexual abuse. So the reason we're bringing this up is so the church understands that just because somebody comes with a story of sexual abuse and you want to help bring healing in that situation, there isn't a pat answer to it. You have to see all the dynamics. Let's say it's not sexual abuse. It's manipulation. Witchcraft happens in the church and outside of the church all the time. We like to believe it's outside of the church around a cauldron. But many churches, the more religious you are, the more witchcraft is going on. It can be something as simple. If I wanted to, let's say I wanted to groom you to be able to sing in the church choir. And I would just walk up real loud. And I know you can sing, but maybe you're shy. And I just walk up to you and I say, what do you think about singing in the choir? All of a sudden everyone goes, whew, the attention, because I know that you'd be really good at it. So now I'm complimenting you, making it difficult for you to say no. I didn't talk to you in private or whatever. I drew attention. So now I'm starting to craft you because you're uncomfortable. And people go, yeah, you should. That would be a great idea for you, you know? And I'm like, see, I knew that. God spoke to my heart. And I really felt like you were going to be that one. So I can do it in something that simple. And you think, well, am I doing anything wrong? If you were looking at me, what did I do that was wrong? It depends on the intention of my heart. See, I'm not looking to care for her. Take her to the side and say, have you ever thought about singing in the choir? I mean, it's up to you. You pray about it. But I just think, I heard you sing in church. Whatever you think, call me. right? Then you have full permission to say yes or no. This is her life. But when I set it up where I'm making it hard for her to say yes or no, because I've put a pressure there, there's manipulation there. We don't see that most of the time because it's very subtle, and we're trained in that. I mean, Grandma might have done that to us. You know, they want something from you, say it in front of the whole family. Well, Jimmy, if you'd help clean once around here, and then everyone goes, yeah, Jim, you should. It's a different way of handling a person where it's like, let me shame you, let me take a bunch of stuff away, and then when you do what I asked you to do, well, I'll praise you, right? So the person doing the cleaning or whatever it was, they have a conflict inside that they don't know if they should feel good about it or not, because they didn't have much of a choice in it. And we just happen to live in the northern states where shaming, down south they do it a lot too. I'm sure all across America, but there are some stronger points of it. Shaming is one of those factors of how you craft people to get what you want. First I'll praise you, and then I'll take something away. You'll feel insecure, and right when I see you doing that, I'll go ahead and heal it by giving something back. And now you feel obligated to me. That's grooming. That's grooming. So another word for grooming is, like they used to say, you groom your horse, or you groom, get your dog groomed, right? You can take them in and cut your poodle's hair. It's grooming. The way that fits into this is if I was going to cut your hair a certain way, Lynn, and you didn't want me to, how would I get her to do what I wanted? I can't just come at it with like, I'm going to cut your hair now. She'd be like, whoa, no. You're not going to do that. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get in her space if I want to manipulate her. See, this is not coming from the angle really of this is how you don't manipulate. I'm trying to show you how to manipulate so you know what not to do. Does that make sense? Or if it's happening to you, you know what it looks like. So a lot of times it's like, hey, you're growing your hair out. Then it's a moving in and just a touch. Just, how are you, Lynn? See, because I'm in her bubble, I'm in her space. And she didn't ask me to be. I just put myself in close enough to test and see where's your line at, right? And so for Lynn, when I came right about here, here's her line. So anything past that is already, when I do this, feels a little bit more threatening, doesn't it? And if I get in real close and I just touch her shoulder, now that's like, if I asked her a yes or no question, it's going to be hard for her to say no to something I would want, because I'm touching her shoulder. And we don't have a real close friendship. But if I go through those steps and I want to manipulate you, I'm going to do, first I'm like, I bet you Lynn, maybe she's insecure in an area. I don't know. I've been watching her. I don't know if you are or not, but I'm watching her. And it's like, I got to get at her somehow. And so my thought is going to be, I need her on my team, or I need her to do whatever it is that I need. I need her to be my friend. I need her to give money. I need her, whatever it is. So then I have to figure out, if I know she's uncomfortable at this spot, I have to break this barrier down. That's my whole job. That could take weeks. When somebody's manipulating you, it just takes weeks. Might only take moments, but for most people, it takes over time. And it's subtle, and you don't know that it's happening. And then the touch is a little bit more acceptable. And then I push in. And then I start telling you what I think would be best for you. And, you're just really good at, because I'm going to give her what I think she needs. Because I've watched her long enough over the weeks to see, ooh, here's her weak areas. So I'm going to give her what she needs. And then I might take something away from her eventually. So I test to see. It might be something small where she's like, are you mad at me? The comeback will be, are you mad at me? No, I'm not mad at you, but it just made me a little uncomfortable when you did blah, blah, blah. And see, I created this where I met her need, and then I just took a little bit of something away, and then I said, no, it's okay, you know that I like you. See, make you worry, and then satisfy you. I just came in a little bit closer. Manipulation works that way. It's a crafting, it's a way of working on a person's psyche more than anything. And if you don't know if you're doing it, it's a heart thing where we really have to pay attention and say, what inside of me, we don't look at the other person, we say, what inside of me can't handle if I ask Lynn to do something and she says no? Am I going to die from that? Can I handle that? What if she doesn't want to be my friend? Can I be okay with that? If we're not okay with those things and we can't work through those things, we'll automatically go over to the manipulation. And there's usually power involved somehow. Somebody's wanting to dominate somebody. To the level of your insecurity is the level you'll rise up to take control. So if I move in long enough, then after a while, if I'm sitting down next to her and I've moved in her space or whatever, I can start talking about, I do hair. I think you look really cute with a short haircut, I'm just saying. And a lot of times the body action is the stare, and the looking into the soul, because I'm going to sell you on this, right? And you're like, no. I mean, just let me know sometime if you want me to cut your hair. And it is that thing where it's a slow working down on it. But if I pressure it and I pressure it eventually, the weaker that she may feel to me rising up is the more she'll eventually say yes instead of no. Right? I'll move into her space. Now, that can make it seem like if I don't want to be groomed, oh my goodness, I got to stay away from people. Stay out of my space. Are you being nice to me now to groom me? I'm not saying to get paranoid. I'm not saying that. But there is that part where if you've been groomed before, just going through some of these steps, it might not have ended up in sexual abuse, but if you've been groomed before in any area where in the end you were like, I got had. I mean, how many of you? Just raise your hand so you know what it feels like, right? But a lot of times we can look back and not know when it started. We only know when it ended. Like somehow I got had and I can't figure this thing out. Because it's so slippery next to what love looks like. So if here's love, it'll ride just the crest next to it, right? So it will seem like so innocent. And it's just right there. When it happens in churches a lot of times, it'll come through praise or finances. Yeah. I've already been in a situation where somebody said, hey, I love your ministry. Oh, love, and it goes on, a little bit too long, and you're like, that's a cue right there. Where are we going? Because it ain't that amazing. You just automatically, you should have a good estimate of what's going on inside of you and what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, money might be offered. That happens, where it's like, well, I was thinking on giving to such and such ministry. It seems to have a need there. But it's not just the voice inflection, everything isn't just like, what do you think about this, Pastor? I mean, this is where I feel like I'm gonna plant seed. I mean, do you think I'm doing the right thing? That's totally different than, I was thinking about giving to the King's Heart. Just like Jack standing over. It's that like, what you gonna do? And it's a bait to see how I'm going to react or how Vern's going to react, because you're trying to gain the victim's trust, you're trying to gain what's going on, and you're trying to figure out how can I fill the need and still get what I want. Get this power to get what I want. See it? So many times big promises will happen, those types of things. Or you're my best friend and they're gone tomorrow. It's real high highs and really low lows. It's not consistent. When somebody's consistent in your life, you can tick them off and they'll come back and say, you ticked me off. But our relationship means so much. I want to work this out. I don't know, maybe it's me. Maybe I got ticked off because there's something in me. But this is what you said. Can we talk about it? See, there's no manipulation in that. That's just conversation and what's happening. But when one rises up and takes the control and leaves the other person without workability, they can't work it out. They can't talk it out. They don't get to confront. They don't get to do anything. You just left them hang there. That's Jack's oversaid. And sometimes dogs will pee on the other dog. Just mark that spot, right? It's just the way it is. Now, what if you came through a situation, because most of you raised your hands where you were groomed in some way or another, and all of a sudden, at the end, you were taken advantage of, but I'm not sure how it all went wrong up until that point, because I really trusted and I really felt good about it. Let's say that you were raised by parents who were groomers. in one way or another. Heavy manipulators will criticize, then give you something, then take something away. And as soon as you can't trust, okay, I'll give that back to you, just to keep you coming. You're going to come this way. I still mark you as I have the control. I peed on you, right? I stood over you and I peed on you, and you're going to know I have the control. And you go, man, I hate that. I don't want anything to do that. And you get to be an adult, and you start dating. The only skills you have is to either play the victim or the controller. Those are the only skills you were given. There is no skills in the in-between. So you will either date as a victim, or you'll date as, how can I stay on top of this thing? You know, I got to make sure I keep that other person coming my way. How can I got to tell them this. I got to do this. Maybe if I buy them something. See, it's a crafting to get them towards something. And you might not even know you're doing it. You're thinking, well, I'm dating. That's how you date. You're dating out of your information. And if you've been groomed, you can turn around and be a groomer. You're either going to be a groomer or set yourself up to be groomed all over again. What's the number one thing that happens when you end up, things go awry and you didn't know how they went awry? You're like, we are never doing that again. I don't know. I am never dating a person like that again. I'm never going to go to a church like that again. Really, if you don't know what that looked like, but you only know the end result, guess what? You're going to do it again. So this is why, it has to be there in that. And so these are the first steps to just understanding there is a formula to grooming. And you have to get in that other person's space, and you're actually looking for their weakness. Now, in a loving marriage, for instance, where two godly people are maturing, and they're like not trying to manipulate, dominate, and control each other, they will see that other person's weakness and go, let me help you shore that up. Babe, let me help you with that. And they'll be okay knowing that other person knows their weakness. We have these conversations, Pastor and I. It's like, yeah, you better take that one. That's not my zone. I mean, I'm going to mature in that. I still got to learn how to deal with it, but I might not be ready at that time, and that might be where his strength is, and vice versa. So that's that coming to a place where we're okay within ourselves. Wherever we're not okay, we will posture ourselves as a victim or a controller. So the level of our insecurity will feel like we need to take control, and in our insecurity, we'll feel like we have no choice but let somebody control us. So it's one or the other. Now here's the crazy part. When you're really analyzing this, when it comes to ourselves, you can be both. You can have an area of your life where it's like, by golly, I am in control. When it comes to finances, she is not touching that checkbook, or he's not. That is my money. That is, and you're just great with the kids, and everything's wonderful. But you have this area over here. And/or you can have this area of control, and this area over here where you feel weak, but you don't know how to take control in it, that you'll actually allow people to run you over. So you're being run over while you're taking control. That gets to be jiggy, doesn't it? I mean, you're like, oh, that's just a jazzy thing. You don't know if you're up or down when that happens, but it happens. But if we recognize the characteristics, or if we even look at what does it mean to take control? First thing is to identify really is, where are you insecure? Because if you're insecure, it means you're not secure. And when I'm secure, I have to be secure in the fact of, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. Love it or hate it. That's what you got, right? I'm not going to be moved by high highs or low lows. I'm just me. And but when I go, me might not be good enough. So I got to take control of this situation, because at any time I could get rejected, and I'm not going to have someone take advantage of me. And so I got to reset this thing, and I got to rise up and take control. Or it'll be the other thing of, like, everyone always victimized me. I don't even know. And we're over here in a heap, falling apart all the time. Either way, we have to recognize, why am I insecure? And wherever we're insecure, we've been subtracted from. It could be that we were never added to begin with. In that certain area, You know, there's areas in our life, like when I teach on arrested development, I always talk about empathy. We're supposed to learn empathy by age 7. Enough of it where we know, hey, your brother fell off his bike. Maybe I should go check on him. You know, have a little bit of empathy on this. But if we didn't learn that, we don't have it as an adult. We don't understand it. So sometimes we don't know what we haven't been given something yet. So we don't know many times what we're missing. So in that way, we're subtracted from just by someone not giving us the information. Then other times we started coming up in the information and abuse or trauma or hurt came our way and actually subtracted from us. And now we're left reeling going, well, who am I? How could this happen to me? I'm not sure where we're going with this. I don't know. Then what will happen is we'll say, well, that ain't going to happen again. And we'll posse up. Or we'll say, that's probably going to happen. I think this is my lot in life. I don't even know if I'll ever find somebody who'll ever care about me, ever. See? So you're either postured to be groomed or you're about to rise up to groom. God wants us in the middle. Ooh, it's the hardest place to be in the middle on any subject. You know, financially, he doesn't want the high highs and he doesn't want the low lows. He wants you right there in that mature zone, no matter what it is. It's the hardest thing to just be like, I'm going to be right there in the middle, God. But because those two sides just pull you. And all it takes is you can be going along in the middle and something trigger a trauma in you. Something come and just hit that, and you will fall to the victim or you'll rise to the controller. And for like 2 weeks, you were fine. Right? And then we'll begin to hate how vulnerable we are to ourselves. And it'll make you mad. And it'll make you sad. And it'll make you fearful, which will cause you to be more insecure, which will make you more of a victim and make you want to take control. See how it gets going? And then after a while, you're just like, can I just take a vacation for myself? If we could just have an island I could go to, leave myself somewhere for a while, I'll come back and deal with that project later because this project really stinks. Part of that comes from being groomed and hurt through that grooming. Because if you think about it, before sin, when Adam and Eve were walking with God in the cool of the day, God was not manipulative, he was not controlling, and he was not dominating. Because there was no sin. And the people weren't doing that to him. They're just trying to learn. We can't even wrap our heads around how peaceful that is. They were neither the victim or the controller. But when sin gets on us, whether we participate in it or somebody did it to us, especially if there's unforgiveness on either one of those scales, it will start working and wreaking havoc. Its goal is like it rots your character, so you start thinking like a victim or a controller. And it wants you to rock between those two ditches. And you know, the Proverbs says it's this, you go to shame, then you go to pride. Then you go to shame, then you go to pride. It's the same scale, right? So it's either I'm a controller or I'm a victim. You're laying in a heap in shame of yourself and who you are, which means I can't be loved and I'm so stupid and why does this always happen to me? Now I'm mad. This whole thing's making me mad. I can't cry about this forever. Now I'm ticked off. I'm going to take control of this situation. And God is in neither one of those places causing that, nor is he approving of it. Right? He's in the middle going, just come back to the middle. I can't. I'm a victim right now. Just shut up. You know, I'm being a victim and just give me a few minutes to be a victim, you know, and then we're mad. And when we come out of that anger, we still don't go to the middle. We go all the way over here and we're like, you hold on, I'm going to fix this, God. I know you'll approve it. Just watch what I'm going to do. And you go on your own. Both of them, you're on your own. The victim and the controller are on their own. He's not in that space. He's in the middle. And he's waiting for us. Well, we have to see what it looks like. We have to know what it looks like when that happens. Let's all stand.